Check one. Check one.
This is Roosevelt Gist with Auto Network, and we're here in Charlotte, North Carolina at the opening of the Charlotte Auto Show, and my guest on the show is Bill Musgrave, the president of the Greater Charlotte Auto Dealers Association. Bill, thanks for taking the time.
Thank you, Roosevelt. Glad to be here.
Now, you are a Saturn dealer, and we happen to be standing here in front of the Saturn View. But before we talk a little bit about the product, let's talk a little bit about what's happening in the auto industry. You have the big three that's seem to be having super problems with perception in terms of quality. You have the other manufacturers that tend to be doing well. How do you see the industry shaking out?
I believe the big three all are working, have been for some time, but are working and continue to work to improve their quality. And I think if you look at the statistics out there, you'll find that their quality has improved fairly dramatically over the last few years. Whether you can say that it's equivalent or better than the Asian imports as an example, maybe not, but I think they've narrowed the gap significantly. I am a Saturn retailer, and not talking just about the Saturn product, but about all the domestic product. It is, I drive them, and they have improved dramatically, and I think they'll continue to improve. And I think we've got very respectable products, and I think it's just a scenario where people have been used to buying Asian imports primarily in that price range of vehicle, and they've gotten comfortable with them. They've given them good service, and I think now it's a marketing challenge for the domestic manufacturers to bring those customers back, and that's what they hope to do.
Now, do you think that maybe size was a problem with the domestic, just being so big with so many models?
Well, I think clearly size has turned out to be part of the problem, because the dealer network that's out there now is really much larger than the Asian network of comparable franchises, and the manufacturers have more capacity than they need, and they also have more dealers than they need. And one of their big challenges for the next few years is to reduce that capacity to match up more clearly with what they expect to sell in the United States market. And they're working on that as well. But it's, as I tell people, it didn't get that way overnight, and it's not going to get fixed overnight, and it's going to be some pain along the way. But I do believe that General Motors and Ford and Chrysler, although owned partially or totally by Daimler, I think they're going to be there. They're just going to be there looking a little differently than they have in the past.
Now, you are probably unique. You decided to pick one manufacturer, and you own quite a few stores along those lines. But I'm sure most of your member dealers are multi-point. And do you think that, again, the big three should maybe take a look at what you're doing? Let's focus on a particular product line. I think now, is it GM that's going to, what do they call it? The
BPG?
Right, the BPG.
Well, again, I think along the lines of too much capacity and maybe too many models. I mean, in General Motors, we saw Oldsmobile go away a couple years back. They've taken Buick, Pontiac, and GMC trucks, and for all practical purposes, while they still have all the models of those three car lines, they've made it one franchise. So they're trying to consolidate and again, that's part of their overcapacity, and trying to deal with matching up the dealers with that they have with the products that they have to sell. So I think that's the way it's going to continue to go.
Now, Charlotte obviously is not a small market when it comes to automobile sales. What are you hearing from your dealer body as to what's happening in the marketplace, and what is it that the association is trying to do to help your dealer body?
Well, we are, association is, this association, the local association, is about 100 dealers strong and represent by far the majority of the dealers in the area. Charlotte's a fairly stable market, not a tremendous amount of buy-sell activity. Typically, manufacturers are not adding a lot of points here. We did just get a second Mercedes point just recently, but we're stable. The association does primarily the auto show. That's our biggest event of the year, and one of the biggest shows on the East Coast now after 14 years. But we put the proceeds from the auto show back into the community and try to be good corporate citizens. Beyond that, we lobby to try to impact our business as we see it fit, be it environmentally or otherwise. And I think do a pretty good job representing the dealers in the community.
How have you seen the show change in the last, let's say, 5 years, and then what do you anticipate this particular show doing for sales in the marketplace? That's really the reason you have the products out here.
Well, we've locked in our dates for the next 5 years at least to come, so we know we're going to be about this time of the year each year. So usually they're in the early type of the year or now. This seems to work well for us. We have a attendance in excess of 100,000 people every year. I think the stats, although I'm quoting these, don't quote me, so to speak, but the stats say that a huge percentage of the people that attend plan to buy a new car within the next 6 months. So I think we provide a place for people to go on a rainy day or a sunny day where they can look at virtually everything that's available in the marketplace and help them make their decisions. And then what happens after that is really up to the dealer as to when the person comes in, the person that wants to buy a car comes in, to try to help them make the right selection, and hopefully it selects something that particular dealer might sell. Charlotte is a great car town, strong import town, but also a strong domestic town. And I think it represents the auto industry pretty much across the board around the country.
Now, obviously, you can't sell cars from the floor. What's your game plan when you have a setup like this? What are you looking to get from the consumer, and how do you use that at the dealership?
Our goal is to make as many contacts as we can. We don't press people for really any information at all. If they want to leave it with us, there's an opportunity for them to do that. If they indicate they'd like to have information or be followed up, then we certainly do that either by phone or we invite them in person. We'll go see them. But any number of ways that we use to stay in touch with a person. And if it works like it hopefully would, then if someone came in this particular booth and left their name and address or some way to contact them, we would. And then we would stay in touch with them until they made their final decision. Hopefully they buy what we sell, but in the event they didn't, we would know that when the time came.
And what goals have you set for this to be a successful show for your member dealers?
We want, we base our success on attendance. And every year since we've started, I think I'm telling this accurately, every year since we started, we've had an attendance that was larger than the year before. And the more people we bring in, the more opportunities we have to sell a car once the show's over. So again, attendance is the key for us. Turnstile attendance, paid attendance is the key.
Now, Saturn has gone through its ups and downs in the last few years. Tell me a little bit about what's happening with Saturn internally, and more importantly, about the new product lineup that's out.
Well, internally, Saturn over the last couple of years has merged behind the screen, so to speak, pretty much with General Motors. General Motors owned Saturn before, but it was an independent subsidiary that had all of its own systems and all of its own programs. Now we are more like a typical General Motors franchise in terms of what people don't see. Our systems of reporting sales, our allocation systems of getting cars, a lot of what I call behind the screen things are General Motors. We stay outside on our own in front of the screen. We still have our own marketing. We have our own style of doing business. We're called retailers versus traditional dealers. That was something that carried forward from the beginning. So we're still, some people call us folksy. We just choose to say that we do our very best to treat every customer absolutely as best as we can. Other manufacturers have come more our way over the years, but we still like to think we have the longevity of having that style of doing business, even if it's being challenged or others are trying to catch up with us. I think we've seen about all we're going to see relative to General Motors in terms of involvement. I think we still have a place that we call our own within GM. As far as the products, we have the best product lineup right now clearly we've ever had. We had a couple of years ago, we had 3 cars, right. 2 cars and a truck. Now we have, the new Aura this year, the Saturn Sky, which has really gotten rave reviews. We're sold out year out in most of my locations with that car. We don't get that many of them. We have coming next month or early January, we have the new 8-passenger Outlook, which is it's what they call a crossover vehicle. It's a car chassis with an SUV body built on it. But we clearly are moving we're not moving way upscale, but we are moving upscale in terms of the price and quality, not quality so much, but the caliber of the vehicle that we sell. We have cars that are nicer, have more options, nicer equipped than anything we've ever had in our past. And we're trying to fill a little bit wider niche in the market than we have in the past. GM likes Saturn because Saturn specializes in conquest sales. We do a better job than any other division that GM has, and we always have done a better job in attracting people that might have bought an import. That's what we specialize in, is bringing people to General Motors that wouldn't have bought a GM product if Saturn hadn't been available. They would have bought something else. So that's what we do. What we do best.
Now, from a potential car buyer standpoint, what's the biggest advantage for consumers that attend auto shows such as the Charlotte International Auto Show?
I think clearly the biggest advantage is being able to see this much stuff, so to speak, in one place at one time. If somebody's really interested in buying a car in the very near future, I mean, I could see someone coming down here and spending a day easily just going through each exhibit. You may not have a desire to have a particular type car, but I wouldn't rule out anything here. Walk through, you may see something. I mean, there's so much availability of product and so many different decisions these days. I think people can't see it all. I mean, the internet's there. You can look at the pictures. You can get the information. You can get a brochure mailed to you at home. But it's not like coming here, all of them in one place at one time, and touching and sitting and asking the questions. It's the best opportunity, I think, that exists anytime all year long for Charlotte or any place that's got a car show to get your arms around maybe what you might want to buy in terms of a car.
Great. Bill, thanks for taking the time.
Very welcome. Thank you, Roosevelt.
This is Roosevelt Gist with Auto Network, and we're here in Charlotte, North Carolina at the Charlotte International Auto Show. And as always, please buckle up, don't drink and drive. See you next time.